from the Peak, where God's favorites link up.
My name is Lara.
And my name is Memi.
And this is Chats from the Peak. So for those of you who do not know, we have a marital platform, support platform, where we kind of talk about all things marriage. So support, healthy communication, how to have difficult conversations, everything, sex, divorce, infidelity, everything in between. But at the end of the day, we're trying to support healthy marriages, which really is the cornerstone of the family. You know, families promoting healthy marriages, healthy families, and healthy communities. Exactly. So we typically align with couples of color, millennial couples of color. But, you know, I think that our information kind of touches across all spectrums and for all people.
I agree. And some of the ways that we do that is we're providing curated resources. We offer coaching. We offer education and like personalized support. And our main goal is to create that community where people our age, other millennials of color, feel like they have a safe space to go to in terms of relationships and marriages and just all the plethora of issues we face in that arena.
Yeah. And so, you know, obviously we want you to I feel like a YouTuber now, like the click,
like,
and subscribe. But obviously we want you to check us out on marriagepinnacle.com. That's our website. But also you can follow us on all social media platforms. So that's at Marriage Pinnacle, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram,
at
Twitter.
Marriage Pinnacle, everywhere.
At Marriage Pinnacle, one
YouTube.
word. You can, YouTube as well. So this episode will be on YouTube and anywhere you get podcasts from, it'll be on there. So for those, this is technically our first episode. We've had a couple episodes, but this is our first video episode. And so
bear with us.
Bear with us. But how this is typically going to go, I definitely don't know where to look, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But so how this is typically going to go is we have a topic, something that we're going to talk about that's going to be our main focus. But then we're going to kind of do internet chokeholds. And so for us, we're not really gossipy girls, but we do have our ears to the streets just to know what's going on, what people are talking about, and really relate it back to marriages and healthy relationships. And so internet chokeholds, and then we'll get into our relationship gems where we'll actually talk about a topic that we think is important, that hopefully you guys can glean from, get some insight from, and then kind of close out with our takeaways. We always think it's important to have takeaways.
And then every now and then we get listener letters.
Yeah,
and then we'll also kind of delve into what our listeners are asking, what they're talking about. So if you have any questions for us in relation to what we're talking about on the show or just any topic, you can send an email to us at info@marriagepinnacle.com. You can DM us on any of our platforms as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So a little bit about us. This is always the uncomfortable part, talking about ourselves, because we don't do it a lot. We typically are behind the scenes for Marriage Pinnacle, but here we are with a video podcast. So I am Dr. Lara, MC Lara, Doc MC, whatever you want to call me. But by training, I am a clinical psychologist, really delving in culture, marriage, couples, mental health awareness, all things psychology. I am a wife, been married for 9 years, husband, got a husband, one husband, just one, just, you never,
what, 10?
I mean, hey, other parts of the world is acceptable, but I have one husband, 9 years, and 2 kids, Levi and Zion. Those are my babies.
My little besties.
I'm sure you guys will hear them, see them at some point. But that's Levi and Zai. And I kind of took after this one because my kids are younger than hers. But she has a boy and a girl. I have a boy and a girl. And we've known each other for over 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
That's crazy because I'm 21 and like...
How old are you?
21 and we've known each other since we were 1. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Definitely grew up together. I'm 21 as well, I guess. Yeah. We're actually just 10 days apart. So
crazy.
I'm 10 days older, but she doesn't call me big sis like she should. But
because I act older.
Do you?
Continue.
Laura, please. Is that what you think?
We're gonna continue moving, sorry, guys, but continue. Introduce yourself.
I actually don't know that at all.
Mems, introduce yourself.
So my name is Memi. Thank you, everyone. And I've been married for 11 years. 11 years. And my husband is Daffo. I have 2 kids, like Lara said. I have a boy, Dayo, he's 10. And a little girl, Tiwa, who's 6, going on 16.
That she is.
Big main character energy with that one.
Yeah.
But yes, I think my passion for marriages came from being married young. And I got married at 25. I got married at 25. And so I got married super young. I was the first out of my friend group to get married. And I didn't have a big community of married people besides like my parents and my parents' friends. And we know that they don't really relate that well to us, especially with us being first generation Americans. So I just feel like as I've been, growing in this marriage thing, I just felt like it would be nice to kind of I always wish we had that community of other people like us, that look like us, that were similar age to us, similar experiences. So we just thought, like, why not create that ourselves? And so that's just what we're doing here. Marriage Pinnacle we're going on 2.5 years.
We're going on 3 years now.
3 years. Oh my gosh. It'll be 3 years next summer. So it's been a journey. It's definitely been a journey. We've learned so much in not just like running a business, but in like trying to cultivate a community. It's definitely not, it's not easy, but it's definitely been enjoyable work. We've definitely had a great time. So this is just the next phase for us. It's something that we started off wanting to do. We started off wanting to do podcast, and now it just seems like everybody wants a podcast. Yeah.
It's interesting because we never, like, honestly, we never wanted to. We always wanted to do podcasts, but we always thought it was just going to be audio. We weren't really big on being in front of the camera. We loved kind of putting out information, putting out resources, and not having to really, put ourselves on Front Street. But, I feel like, God was just like, okay, y'all need to step out and, showcase what healthy marriages look like. So we're happy to be here. Let's get into it. So internet chokeholds, like we mentioned, just kind of keeping our ears to the streets and what's going on. And so a lot's been going on, really. And so today's topic, we're talking about boundary setting in relationships, right? And so I think if you've been listening, if you've been on social media or anything, you've kind of seen you've been hearing about boundaries. And for us, I think it's really important to talk about boundaries, obviously from the setting of marriage or from the setting of a healthy relationship. And so today's topic, who has been not necessarily in the media, but I think this couple, to me, I feel like people have automatically they don't have healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And, she puts all his business out there.
They have a really bad rep right now.
They have a really bad rap. So, Will and Jada, right? So Will and Jada, they've been married for over 20 years. And, Jada just came out with her book. And, obviously she divulges a lot of information. And she kind of talks about how her and Will are separated but not divorced. Yeah. And so one thing that has been ringing repeatedly is they don't have boundaries. Keep us out the group chat.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Like, oh my gosh, why should always put his business out there? And they must not have really good boundaries because why is Will accepting this? And this kind of stems back. What is this, 2020, 2021, when the whole, situationship came out? August Alsina. So I feel like they've never kind of really recovered. But it's always a topic of like, oh, she has poor boundaries. Like, she continues to put his business out there. And I don't know. I feel like, granted, I don't necessarily believe that we need to know all of their business. But I'm not really of the mindset that they don't have good boundaries.
And I think people are like confusing what boundaries mean. And that's why I love working with Lara, because she does come from that clinical aspect. There is a clinical definition to what boundary setting is. And we're going to get into that later. Yeah. But I think when people think about boundaries, they're thinking like, oh, they're violating the boundaries because we know what's going on.
That's it.
But I think that is not what we mean when we're talking about setting boundaries. When we're talking about boundaries, we mean the fact that they are able to be that honest and open with each other and have that communication where they're saying, hey, we've been married all this time. I want to keep you in my life, but I also want us to have separate relationships. And we don't have to agree with it. We don't have to co-sign that. I mean, being like Christians, of course, that's not like our go-to open relationships or whatever. Yeah. But in there, like if you just put everything that we know, what we've been privy to, and you just put it in a box and you contain that information that we have, I think that their boundaries are pretty clear, you know. And when they came out on the Red Table Talk and they talked about the August Alsina thing, we saw how difficult it was for both of them to speak about it. And it didn't seem like it was a joyride, you know? Right. It seemed like they're doing the work. And I feel like that's a lot more than, you know, some other people can say.
A lot of people can say, man. Yeah. A lot of people can say, you know. And so, interestingly enough, so like before this episode, I had just asked people, I was like, oh, what couples do you think have good boundaries and what couples do you think have poor boundaries? And literally, I think everybody I asked, like at least three sets of people that I asked, all said Will and Jada have poor boundaries. Yeah. And you know, and for me, like I was like, well, why do you say that? And I was like, not to say that you're right or wrong, but you know, why do you think that they automatically have poor boundaries? And everything that was said was, oh, because we know all this information. Yeah. And I think people are confusing those two. Like you feel like you're violating their boundaries because you know their business. Yes. Correct. But that's not what it means to really set boundaries in a relationship. Correct. If they both agree that they're going to relate to let this information go or what's the word? Like publicize this information. If that's agreed upon by the both of them, then there's no boundary that's being crossed. Correct. Agreed. Agreed. And so, you know, I think that, you know, on the flip side, I was like, okay, so what are some couples that you think have good boundaries? And people were like, Kerry Washington and Namdi. And I'm like, well, we don't know anything about their relationship. That is so interesting. Right. And I was like, is it because we don't know anything about their relationship that you think it's good boundaries? Or is it because like they're quiet? And I was like, just because you're quiet doesn't mean necessarily you have good boundaries. It doesn't mean anything at all. Yeah, but then I also heard Sierra and Russell. Okay. And I was like, I can understand that a little bit more. Yeah. But again, I think that they just represent a healthy marriage. Yeah. And it's not necessarily about the boundaries. Yeah. It's more that they represent a healthy marriage. Yeah. But that's the image, right? Yeah. And we're only talking about image. Hello. Yeah. Because we don't know these people at all. But the fact that you have a poppet in your hand, can we just pause on that? You know, I have like. What is the problem? If I didn't have to fidget, I'd be like this the whole time. Like, so Yeah, whatever. So okay. I'm borrowing her son's poppet. He said I can borrow it. I did ask. That is crazy. So I was like, what is that green thing? That's why I was like, Larry, you only got one? Like, dang. I don't need one, but I don't need one. Levi should have more of these. Okay. Especially for me when I come. All right. Okay. But yeah, so again, like what she said, I think is really like important for us to kind of always highlight. We're not talking from the standpoint that Will and Jada are not healthy. They are healthy or unhealthy. We're not saying Russell and Sierra are healthy or unhealthy. I think it's really the perception that we see, it's the right? Perception. The perception, because we don't know these people. We don't know what's going on in their houses. We don't know what's going on in their relationship. It's just what we see, right? And as we've seen, unfortunately, there's so many couples going through it in the media that are going through it. So I think that just goes to show that these type of conversations need to be had. Yeah. And obviously we know we're not the first. There's so many marriage podcasts out there, you know, but I think what's unique to us at least is that obviously we're two friends. We're both of Nigerian backgrounds. We're first generation Nigerian Americans. I guess we are millennials. And I think we just have that unique perspective, and we're not in a relationship together. So I think, again, you're going to see that we probably don't agree on everything. Yeah. Fundamentally, I do believe we do align on a lot, but I think that we have our own unique opinions to stuff. And I think that that's what at least makes us different. Yeah. So, again, I think at least for this, I think we do agree where boundaries, I think Will and Jada actually do have good boundaries, and that they're probably not disrespecting her because I feel each other, because I'm sure Will knew what was going to be in that book. I don't think anything was a surprise. I mean, and again, we're saying, of course, based on what we think. Yeah. But
I would firmly believe that he read the entire book before it came out.
And he said something. I know he said, I'm super proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm super proud of you for sharing your truth. Meaning he was okay with what was shared.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it wasn't painful.
It could have been very painful.
Right. So one thing I always like, even with patients, I talk about radical acceptance. It's this idea that you can accept something for what it is, but you don't have to like it.
Yeah.
You don't have to judge it good or bad, but you can just say, I accept it. Whether it's painful, whether it's not, whatever the case may be, and just say this is what it is.
Yeah.
So I believe 100% that like they have healthy boundaries for that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot more couples probably not necessarily taking a page out the book, but
don't try to be like related. We are
don't
not
take a page out the book, but I'm just saying the honesty.
We're just talking about boundaries, honesty, and open communication.
Right. And I think that is something they do have. Yes. I think that they do have that.
And like we have to also understand that celebrities do not live in the same environment as us.
Yeah, it's different.
They have way different lifestyles, way different access, way different opportunities.
Definitely.
So when I'm never ever going to compare my relationship to Will and Jada's relationship or any multi-trillionaire. Exactly. I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
and I don't suggest y'all do it either.
Right.
So we're only using them for just, an example about setting boundaries and healthy boundaries.
Definitely.
And so there was another celebrity that was in the news and about boundaries. This was a few months ago at this point. Okay. But Jonah Hill.
Oh, and his
the surfer girl, yeah. So Jonah Hill, I don't know if you guys know about this. Jonah Hill, he's like
he's acting crazy,
like a quirky comedian, movie star, and he was apparently dating this girl. She's a surfer, so she posts her surfer videos, and oftentimes surfers are not. You're not wearing a suit. Not
oftentimes they're dressed in their attire.
You're in a bathing suit, right?
Dressed in their
surfer. And so it came out when they broke up. She had said that she felt like mentally and emotionally abused, and she was saying that he used a lot of like therapy speak in saying that this is my boundary. Yes. I need you to delete the pictures of you in the bathing suits. And in her mind, she's like, wait, this is my job, number one.
This is how you met me.
This is number two. You met me just like this.
Come on.
Right? And so I think, and this is how I want us to like kind of segue into what are boundaries and like explaining the clinical definition of what boundary setting is supposed to be. Because he felt like she was breaking his boundaries, so she needed to change.
Crazy.
Like, I have a boundary. I don't want my girlfriend in a bathing suit on Instagram. This is my boundary. So go put some clothes on. Yeah. Delete those pictures. No. And is that what boundary setting is? Because I think a lot of people think that, like, oh, I'm setting healthy boundaries. Now everyone around me has to comply.
No.
So take it over, Dr. Lara.
No, unfortunately. So if we think about what boundaries are that mark or line where it divides a limit. It's like a dividing line. And so one thing I tell my patients all the time, I'll say, it is where I stop and you start, right? So if you think about this, there's like a clear demarcation of me and a clear demarcation of you. Now, right, I think that how I might institute a boundary can change, right? So like, I can say I stop here and I don't want you to start until here, but I need to make that clear, right? Because at the end of the day, where I stop is where you start. So think about me and you sitting close to each other just like this, right? And I know that personal space is a big thing for me, right? And right now this is healthy, but think about 3 years ago when we were in the height of COVID.
Yeah.
What would be the appropriate boundary?
What did they say, 5 feet?
Girl, you
10 feet? 6. I don't remember. 6 feet?
You just threw it away, right? COVID was like a long thing.
Forgot about COVID.
6. It was 6
feet. 6 feet, yes.
6 feet.
Like, my height.
Your height, exactly. So like almost your height that you thought I was as well. But anyway, so again, right now this is considered a healthy boundary because I feel safe and she feels safe. But if we think about COVID a couple years ago, healthy was 6 feet.
Right.
And that was the appropriate boundary. And think about it. When people were in line, we would see the spaces.
Yeah.
You stay here and I start here. And that was the appropriate boundary. But obviously, as all of those things kind of eased off, we saw the things moving and people now stand closer to each other in line, right? But think about when the height of COVID was, if I was close to you or too close to you, what would happen?
I would just move back.
Or you would say something, right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, can you give me 6 feet?
Yeah. Can I get 6 feet?
Can I get 6 feet?
Yeah.
Because again, that area or that boundary has now been crossed.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that like my boundary is for me, which I think you were trying to get to in with that example with Jonah Hill. Like I can make a boundary and I can say I don't want my girlfriend or my significant other to wear certain things and expose it on social media or whatever the thing might be.
And that's valid. Nobody's saying that.
And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with you saying that.
Yeah.
However, you cannot because that is your boundary and you don't appreciate and you don't like it. That means we're not going to see you doing it, but you cannot necessarily expect that your partner does that unless that is a conversation you have with them and they're willing to comply.
100%. She nailed it.
Yeah, because you can't say you've like crossed the boundary that you're opposing. You can't oppose a boundary on someone else for them to do. The boundary is for you.
It's for you.
And ultimately a boundary is where you feel safe. Ultimately. But you can't say that you don't feel safe because she's wearing something that she's completely comfortable with.
That she's comfortable with. And that's like her job.
And it's literally her job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's different, like no shade and no offense to people who have OnlyFans. It's not like she's posting pictures for an OnlyFans.
Right.
She's posting pictures for her job.
Like sex work.
Right. Which again, that's no shade to you, but you know what I'm saying? But that's not what she's doing.
Yeah.
She's posting pictures for her job.
Yeah.
So again, boundaries at the end of the day are for you.
Yeah.
They're not for anybody else but for you. They're for you because this is the parameters you put in place that make you feel safe.
Exactly.
So
and I think the biggest issue with that was that, especially when you meet the person doing that, like we just brought up sex work, right? So if you meet a sex worker, you don't just all of a sudden fall in love with the sex worker and then expect for that person to change their job because you're no longer comfortable with it. It's up to you to remove yourself from that situation.
There you go.
If you decide like, hey, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this anymore, you leave the situation. You don't impose yourself upon that person.
There you go.
Because then you now make that person feel like, oh, they're less than, or oh, I'm not deserving. And then it quickly turns into emotional abuse.
There you go.
And manipulation.
That's good.
And so
and I think you bring up a really good point because I think that like for me at least, that lets me know that boundaries can change, right?
Yeah.
Boundaries can shift automatically. You know, I always think about the example of when you're younger, right? And like when I was younger, my brother and sister used to do this to me, but it's like that, you know, that you're like, I'm not touching you.
Yeah.
And like sometimes on a regular day, this will not bother me at all and I can ignore you. But then on a specific day, I'm like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
Like you're too close to me.
you have 2 seconds before I break those fingers.
Right. Like move. And you know, and so like that is the same thing. It's like your boundary today could be like, this is how close I want you. I don't want you any closer than this. But then on another day, I could be all up in your face and it does not bother you.
Yeah.
You know, so at the end of the day, boundaries can shift based on the season, based on the environment, based on what's going on at the time. But ultimately, I think it's important that you are, and like ultimately we're always talking about relationships, right? That has to be something that's being said and communicated.
Yeah.
Like it has to be, you know, I use the example of a house a lot of times too, right? So like when you have a house and you give your key to, like, let's say you give the key to one of your brothers, right? And for the longest time, shout out to the brothers, like you give your key to your brother and your brother comes in and out of your house whenever he wants, right? Whenever he wants, he comes in and out of your house and nothing's an issue. But then Dapo says, you know, we need our key back.
Yeah.
Like, we need our key back. And it's not because he did anything, but that's the season we're in right now. We have kids now.
Yeah.
We want to know we want to track who's coming in and out of our house. We want our key back. And you say, hey, bro, give me my key back.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, the change in boundary impacts the other person.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you're determining that, okay, I'm changing my boundary. I'm getting a little bit more strict. And I would like access to my house to be limited. And so oftentimes your brother or whoever will not like that.
Yeah.
Because they're just like,
what happened? What I do?
I've been coming in and out of your house
all the time
when I want.
You take it personal.
You take it personal.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about the safety. And this is what's making me feel safe. And now I'm reestablishing my boundaries.
Yeah.
So now that he has to knock on a door, sometimes it's a problem.
Yeah.
And oftentimes what we see is that when we notice that the other person or our partner, if we're talking about relationships, doesn't like the boundaries, we revert back.
Yeah.
We revert back to like what we didn't want, and it's a cycle.
Yeah.
Until you're ready to reestablish boundaries and kind of put your foot down.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's important for us to note that like when you can change boundaries at any time. And it's not necessarily for the other person, it's for you.
It's for you.
But doesn't mean the other person's gonna like it.
Yeah. And I think that's a good perspective to look at things from the person setting the boundaries and then the person that has to abide by the new boundaries. So it should be abiding by the new boundaries.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting perspective. Like at the end of the day, you'll hear us talk about this 1,000 times on any platform we're on. Communication. Like I know when people get married, they always talk about what's the most important thing. Or you ask a couple who's been married for 40 years and they say communication. But it's for a reason.
Yeah.
It's just because it's so... Like, it's so hard to try to meld together two completely different human beings into this one life together without discussing everything in painstaking detail.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about boundary setting, it has to be mutual.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even if it's a conversation, like even like we're still going with the Jonah Hill conversation, even if it's like, babe, like I've been working on some things, like I'm kind of growing in the things that I like and what's changing, and I'm just not as comfortable anymore with these pictures you post.
Yeah.
Like, is there what can we do? Like, what do you suggest? You know, like bring that person into the conversation and don't just, oh, I don't like when you post those pictures.
Yeah.
You know, because we're using him as an example, but I'm sure these are things that happen.
These are things that are
like
happening.
I'm sure this is something. It could be something like,
real small too.
Like I just had 5 kids and I got my body done and now I'm feeling myself.
Yeah.
So now like. Now I'm posting. Now I'm turning around.
Never see you on social media
now
before.
I'm turning around in the picture so you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
And you know, your man might not like that.
Yeah.
He might not like that. Like that might be a boundary he's not comfortable with. Or, you know, vice versa, men or women. You know how men get their hair cut and want to go run errands all day? Like your wife might not like that. Yeah. So it's like it's a conversation and it's important to just have that respect in there. Yeah. How the person that's setting the boundaries, how you bring it up should be with respect.
That's good.
And then the person you're setting the boundary on, you should also consider that person. That's like, good. Is this something that's natural to them?
Yeah.
Is this her job? Is this something that she can do without? Like, are you asking her to do something unreasonable for your comfort? Yeah. If that is the case and you have these hard set boundaries, then it's on you to make the choices. You don't impose. You don't expect someone else to do just what you're saying. Yeah. It's on you to set the boundaries. Like Lara talks about the key, the house access. You can't come in my house. If you don't like it, if you have a problem with it, we could talk about it. But this is my house. Yeah. Right? So this is my space. I own everything going on in here. You don't live here. You know? So it's like, just let me know when you're coming. I'll even leave the door unlocked for you if I know you're coming. You know, like we can make this more comfortable for both of us, but it just has to be, the respect just has to go both ways.
That's it. That's good.
So
and not even that, and not well. That is right, like really on point. But I think that it's also important to kind of touch on like why, like when I feel like every couple, the boundaries within their relationships and will be different, right? So like you brought up the example of just like let's not even talk about the body, right? Let's even just talk about like posting on social media, right? Like some people have no problem with whatever their spouse wears, right? Like guy or girl. Like I don't care that it's low cut, I don't care that it's tight, I don't care, whatever the case may be. But I think the minute that there is a change or a shift, there needs to be like you said, a conversation. A conversation needs to be had. And I think that really stems across everything. Mental health, finances, right? Like, you know what you're coming into, like, you know the mindset you're coming into when it comes to finances. Like, you know when it is like your spending season or you're not spending, whatever the case may be, but those are conversations that need to be had. Boundaries as far as like openness to money. Like, how do I know everything that you have in your account? Do you know everything I have in my account? Are we putting our finances together? Those are conversations that need to be had in order to like have healthy boundaries. Like some couples, like, you know, I don't want you knowing what I have in my account.
Yeah.
We're not going to go there just yet.
That's another episode.
We have another episode of finances. But I mean,
another episode.
No knock to however you decide to move. But, you know, I think that again, those boundaries need to be had. And like for me, I'm so big on like reestablishing boundaries because some things might be okay in this season, but when things shift, it changes. And if you're not willing to have a conversation, it just makes it can make things 10 times harder. Because you're frustrated, but then your partner doesn't understand why.
Right.
When they're like, I've been doing things the way I've been doing them.
Like what's the problem?
What's the problem? Yeah. Or it's like you set a boundary, but then you renege on the boundary, and so it's just like this back and forth.
But you yourself are not sticking to the boundary.
You're not sticking to the boundary that you set. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
I would do.
You know, in what regard, Nemi?
No.
In what regard?
I can't think of an example right now.
I find that hard to believe, but we move. It's okay. It's okay. But now that we are talking about ourselves, Nemi, what are some boundaries that you have set?
Well, okay. So I think I don't renege on this one, but I think one of the biggest boundaries I think that me and Dapo set early on in our relationship was that during arguments we do not use vulgarity towards each other. So we don't curse each other out. We don't say hurtful things to one another. Like, yeah, like I'm not like, oh, that's why you ain't this and that's why you a bit, you know, we do not argue that way. And that was something that we established very, very early on because we started dating really young and we did have like a bad argument. And he said Dapo doesn't curse. He curses when he's talking to his friends and other people, but when he's talking to me and the kids, he does not use vulgarity. So when we were arguing, he had said something like the F word, like something like, I don't give a F. Girl, I broke down.
Oh, did you?
Like I had a full blown, like, how could you curse? How could you speak to me that way?
What's wrong with you?
So very early on, I was I don't like the way this feels at all. So we're gonna have to nip this right on in the bud. You ain't finna talk to me like that at all. I don't care how mad you are. So that's something that, you know, had to go both ways. So I also don't speak to him like that because I know there are some women that when they argue and they get mad, you everything but a child of God. Everything under the hood. You ain't in. You don't pay no bills in this house.
Margie paid all the bills.
That's why the kids don't bang with you. That's why your mama don't like you. That's why your daddy kicks you.
Jesus.
Like it gets real nasty. And so it's like the mouth, if you cannot control the mouth, that is it can destroy.
Yeah.
It can destroy.
Sure can.
So that is just a huge boundary for us that we have in our marriage. And I'm not saying it's perfect. Like there are sometimes like some spontaneous arguments that can get you there. And it's always like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like if you're there, let's take a break.
Okay, so good. You have like a pause button. Okay.
It's definitely a pause button.
Nice.
Because just because it's a boundary don't mean it's never crossed. Yeah, it's crossed,
that's
right?
Good. That's real good. That's real good.
It's crossed, but you have to decide what happens when the boundary is crossed.
I like that.
So what do I do? Do I now match your energy? Do you match my energy? Or do we
also like
bring it back
low,
down?
I go
I go low.
Go low. Hey. Go low.
You start taking it there.
Yeah.
So no, it's always like, oh no. Okay, you're real mad. So let's talk about this later.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's interesting. And I think that kind of goes back to what we were saying, that like everybody's boundaries are different because I feel like that's not even a conversation me and Tola have ever had in like ever.
Yeah.
Because I think that like growing up,
you're a clean fighter. Clean fights. No.
And it's crazy because no balls be thrown. No, honestly, because I feel like yelling has always been my problem. Like African moms.
Yeah.
It's like in the handbook. It's like, you must yell to be a mother. Must yell to be a wife. And so I think I took a page out of that book.
Yeah, the chords
so
get
the
up there.
Yelling is my issue. Like that is my issue. And
Just
I feel
raising
like
your voice.
raising my voice. And I feel like tell it that he's like,
Yeah.
It's like shut down. It's like we're not talking. Don't talk to me.
See you tomorrow.
'Cause you're yelling. So bye. But like the vulgarity never, I feel like that's never been an issue. And I think that's also because like when just growing up as the oldest, my siblings couldn't like even tell me to shut up.
Oh,
like it was like that. Like that was like the thing my grandmother told my mother. Like like your younger siblings cannot tell you to shut up.
Yeah, I wish.
Oh, sorry.
My brother's feet.
Oh nah. So like that was like even up until
dragging me by my hair down the hallway, like beating the snot out of me.
No. So like that was one thing. So I feel like we just never had to kind of go. We never got there. So it was not even something that I really took into marriage where like I was like cursing him out. And then it's like I could never probably say you ain't ish because I'm like, tell him really. He be doing
You're
everything.
kind of that guy.
How are you doing everything? She's like, okay, take care of the kids. Yeah, he does that. Pay the bills. Yeah, he does that. It's like, yeah, so it's like I can't really use that because he does.
He don't even give you no ammo.
He doesn't give me like real ammo. The only thing I can say is like, you don't be talking. Talk. That's probably like the most I can do because he don't be like. He doesn't like the ammo, like you know, the ain't ish type. Like I don't have that. Because he does, but so I feel like that's not a boundary. It's interesting that that's a boundary for you guys because that's not like something I would even think of because it's not something that we talk about.
Like you don't even go there. It's like it's not even applicable at all.
So I like that. I'm trying to think like what's a boundary. No, I mean we definitely have them, but I'm just wondering like off the top of my head, like what's a boundary that I feel like we've set. I do think again, for both of us, I think just maybe like certain things that we talk about, just making sure it's not discussed with other people. Like I feel like that is something that we had to like, even for both of us, you know, like I keep a secret, I guess. I don't know. Like I feel like and again, I think profession that also stems from that as well. Like because I take confidentiality really seriously. So like you tell me something, it's gonna remain in confidence. And so I know that like Tella will be like, you don't ever tell me nothing. Like blah blah blah. And I'm like, that boundary is put not because it's not because I don't want to tell you stuff, but because I hold that to that's so important to me. That's a boundary that I don't cross. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't cross it even if you are my husband. You know, and thankfully, Tella's not the type. Honestly, he don't be caring. Number one, he doesn't care. He's like he don't care. But like
what your girls will talk about today.
Like he doesn't care. Number one, but like. So it's like I would never have to worry that like it's about to get out because my husband told people, you know. But like,
can you imagine?
No, I couldn't. Like I literally couldn't because I'd be like, that would be the day. That would be the day.
That is embarrassing.
Yeah, but like, so I feel like that's not something I have to worry about. But I do feel because of my profession, that is a boundary that I feel like is put in place. Like, tell her this is something I have to like, in order to keep relationships safe. And also our relationship safe. It's just certain things that like I won't cross. And
you don't even just want to bring that kind
I won't even bring it into it. So I feel like that's one for us. I feel like and so at least I know for me it stems from just like my profession and also just like I feel like I've always been that way. You know, not necessarily this. And as we've talked about boundaries, just because it's what keeps you safe doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be reciprocated. You know, so I've learned the hard way that like. Something I hold important is making sure I keep information confidential, but that has not always been reciprocated. And also that has now also made me reestablish my boundaries. Because I'm like, oh, you did it once? Thank you. You have now let me know. I now have to reestablish, and there's just certain things I'm not going to mention to you because you have crossed that line. So, and for me, that was important and it was necessary. So,
I think that's good. I think that's good because that's how you keep yourself safe. So like at the end of the day, you have to prioritize yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think people, it's hard to understand that even in any type of relationship. But in, you know, we're talking about romantic, but it's hard to understand because you feel like, oh, this person I'm with, they're here to. Like we're here to serve each other. So it is possible to like lose yourself in that person and what they like and what their boundaries are and what their what they, you know, like what are the things that make them tick. You kind of pour yourself into that, but you kind of forget about like, what do I need to feel safe? What do I need to feel, you know, like secure in this relationship and in myself. So,
yeah, that's good. I feel like, so you kind of hit the nail on the head with like why boundaries are important is they keep you safe, right? Do. But I think also like we didn't really touch on this a little bit, but I feel like for me, when you feel safe, you trust more, in my opinion. Sure. I feel like you trust more. I feel like a level of trust is there because you're like, okay, this person is respecting the parameters that I have established and they're maneuvering in that space. I can trust them. Yeah. And to me, that also, it's not necessarily synonymous, but I also equate when you have trust, there's a level of intimacy you can kind of get to.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen these like charts at work, and it's like step 1. It's like literal, like a ladder. So it's like step 1 is safety and security. Right? Once I feel safe and secure in my relationship, then it's easier for me to trust you. And once I trust you, it's easier for me to be intimate with you and not just sexual intimacy.
We're not even talking.
But like emotional and like I'm able to be more vulnerable. Like the walls are down because I'm safe. I'm secure. I trust you. So it's like, you know, it's like a nice build. And once that happens, you have reached the pinnacle of communication.
Come on now, marriage pinnacle.
You have reached the pinnacle of communication. I can talk about anything, anywhere, anyhow with you. If I know that I'm safe, I'm secure, I trust you, and we have that level of intimacy, that vulnerability.
That's good. That's good. You know, and I think about like going into marriage, I feel like at least when I feel like boundaries for me were a lot looser when we first got married. You know what I'm saying? Like even
it's an adjustment period.
It's an adjustment, right? So like I feel like, don't you know when you get married, and again this might be a cultural thing, like when you get married at the bridal shower, and you know the mommies are talking and they're like, oh my gosh, when you get married, drop all your single friends. No more talking on the phone at night. You should be talking to your husband, you know, and I think that again, like there is a shift, right? That is required, right? Like you do require a level of shifting when you get married, right? Yeah. But I think that is kind of like that extreme where it's just like, oh, you cut off everybody. It's just you and your husband in this bubble. Yeah. And that is it. That is the end all be all. And again, I feel like when we think about boundaries, you don't want to be on an island.
You don't. And it's like, that's a whole other, like we could do a whole other episodes on like friendships in marriages, especially for women in particular. Yeah. Like we were at my sister-in-law's bridal shower. Lara was with me, and the lady came on there, one of the aunties, and she said, all these are single friends here?
All of them.
She pointed at like all these girls, all these are single friends. She said, no more.
And we're just
she said before you know it, they will be trying to take your husband.
And we're just like,
can you imagine?
Like,
and granted, that could very well be a lived experience. It could very well be something that she has gone through, or she knows people that have been through that. So it's like I never want to like. I'm never too quick to speak on the aunties because they have that experience. That is their lived experience. But to just like project it,
it was kind of crazy.
on young women. It's just like I feel like there are so many things you can get to before your friend is taking your man. Like there's a lot of steps there.
Like you said, the hyper steps.
There's a lot. There's a lot of in between there that you could be like, well, you know, I don't have to spend the weekend with my homegirls, but I can like
I can still talk to them.
I can still call them. They can still call me. You know.
Yeah. So I think that like you know it's finding that balance, right? And you know, I think, and obviously we're talking about setting boundaries, but it's also on the flip side, we need to also make sure that we're respectful of boundaries, right? It's not about just us, especially in a marriage, right? Like it's the same way you want, like, this is what keeps me safe. Your partner is going to have those same requests, it's going to be those same things on the other side. And so because of that, your boundaries will have to shift in a way that's compromising as well, right? You know, like I think it's so important that we make sure that in the quest of setting boundaries, asserting your boundaries, that we're also being mindful that obviously in a partnership, in a marriage, you're also having to do the same thing out of respect for your partner. You're also having to not fold to boundaries, but adjust to boundaries set by your partner. You know, and I think that, you know, is there anything that you can think of that Dapo, like maybe there was a boundary that he put in place for you?
That he set for me. I really just thought about it.
Did you?
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was just like, God, I wish he was here to kind of tell me. But
he's like, oh, yeah, actually.
Yeah, okay, so I can think about one.
Oh, okay.
A boundary that he has is the joint account.
Oh, Lord,
so if you be having me on here really embarrassing myself. Okay, so a boundary, and he may not even know it's a boundary. He may not think of it as a boundary, but it got to a point. And it was one time back in the day. You know, back in the day. I don't do this no more. I'm
Praise
saved.
God.
I've grown. I've
delivered.
matured. I've been delivered. But me and Dapo have personal accounts, and then we have a joint account. The joint account is for a mortgage. Anything regarding the children and just house stuff.
Yeah.
I would, I would finish my little personal money, my little set aside. I would blow it, and then I would be in a joint account, get my nails done, buying stuff for myself on Amazon. And he would be like,
this is for the house. Amazon
for the house. But I'm just going to put this in my room, in my corner, but it's for the house. It came to the house, didn't it? It's for the house. So that was something that drove him crazy. Yeah. So it got to a point where I'm like 2 seconds away from taking your joint ATM card. And I'm like, well, you're not to do that, And so it took me a while, though, because he would be like, you need to stop. Because to be fair to him, he has set aside all the money. He knows everything that's supposed to come out of the account. He has planned everything down to a T. So when I go in there and he sees Kim's nails for $100, right? He's like, did you get your nails done on a joint account? And I'm just like, I
used the wrong card.
Oh yeah. He was like, but the whole point of the personal account is for your maintenance, right? Like it's like your upkeep. I mean, it's it's kind of expensive. I mean, it's not easy.
Please let them take us seriously, please.
Sorry, but at the same time, the onus is on me to manage that better and not impose on the work that he was doing.
That's good.
So that was a boundary. To me, I think that's a boundary that he set. That's was like, good. You have to stop using the joint account.
Yeah, that's
and I don't know if there's any consequences. I think the only consequence was that I expect you to put the money back.
Yeah, but then also he's not happy. I mean, that's the consequence, right? So like, and obviously that's...
And it's like pissing him off. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but and we go back to like the safety issue, right? Like it's not feeling safe. Like I feel like I'm being violated, right? Technically. Because it's like we put this money aside for the upkeep purpose, and it's like you're kind of dipping into it. Yeah. So I'm being very, very, very
right on off me.
I'm being very, very, very like dramatic when I say this. So I know I'm not saying you're a thief. But I'm saying it's kind of like you're stealing from the pot. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
that makes sense.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, okay, I feel violated because you're taking out of like what is ours. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Yes. So that is the consequence, right? And so like we don't always look at things like that. We think about boundaries like as like, oh, these big violations, you assaulted me or whatever. Like, but it can be as simple as like I'm upset.
Like you said, I like the word violated. Yeah. Just disrespected. Yeah. Because it's like I'm looking at the hard work he's doing and trying to like maintain the family and keep us afloat. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm just thinking from my perspective where it's like, I mean, joint account. There's means money, it's my money in there as well. And he's like,
you won't hurt.
Like I could just take it back, And so that's me. Like again, that's back in my immature,
praise God,
immature phase. But I've grown,
God is good.
And I don't use it at all really anymore. So it wasn't overnight, but I think definitely having that mindset of like, okay, this might actually really be hurting him. Yeah. Because he's not going to tell me that. He's not going to come to me and say, babe, if you could just stop using the joint account because it really hurts my feelings.
Yeah, definitely not going to say
He'll never say that. He'll just be like, you got one more time to use that joint account, and I'm cutting up your ATM card. I'm changing the password.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But,
and I think you just said it didn't, and like that kind of like sparked something for me when you said it's not overnight, right?
Yeah.
So I think that which ultimately, like, one thing that you're always going to hear from us is like communication, right? Because that is the hallmark, right? You reestablishing boundaries, you setting boundaries, it's going to require continued conversations.
Yeah.
Conversations, not necessarily like, am I following this boundary? Or blah, 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 you're doing a good job following this boundary, or no, but it just needs to be a conversation of like, I still feel like this is maybe an area you need to work on.
Yeah.
Or this is like, you did real good. I appreciate you respecting, like now that I've set a boundary, I appreciate you respecting me for doing it. Because ultimately these things are reinforcing. If I reinforce that you're doing a good job, if I tell you you're doing a good job, it reinforces you to do it again, right? Like it's
like kids, like how we do with kids.
Absolutely
Positive
reinforcement. Like if they know they're getting praised, and we're not patting you on the back and say, "Oh, thank you for following my good boundary." But if I let you know, I appreciate you, like that thing that we talked about. I appreciate you just like sticking to it.
Nice.
That is reinforcing, and it is, and it will hopefully encourage them to do it more and more and more and more until like it's a habit.
And I'm the oldest daughter, so I live off of positive reinforcement.
Tell me I am such a good daughter.
Amazing. Tell me how much you love me. Tell me how much you need me in your life.
Tell me how good of an example I set for my siblings.
That is my favorite thing. Maybe you're such a good example. Thank you.
I try.
I do what I can do. You know
I try. SOTG.
SOTG in the building.
Yeah, for both. By the time this episode come out, we will have been a couple months removed, but both of our siblings, actually, two of my siblings and one of hers got married.
Yeah.
But her other brother got married last year. So it's literally 2 and 2 for us. And
at least she's done. I still got one more in the tuck.
Wait.
And he said he's going to court, so we're hoping it. My parents ain't like that. I was like, I'm fine with court.
Okay.
If you go to court, I'll be there. Go to court.
So it's been a blessed year, but it's also been a
very financially challenging.
It's been a year. It's been a year, but we thank God. We thank God for sure.
So that's true. Because Dapple gonna watch this and he gonna be like, he gonna call Cap. I was in a joint account a couple months ago, but I put it right back. I put that money right back because he was like, "Did you take?" I was like, "Dang, I think that was the wrong card."
You threw the wrong card up there.
Let me put it right back.
I put it right back.
You know, because I have grown. Again, I'm mature now. I'm mature.
Look at you.
Grand
dame of Waldorf. Jesus. Everybody say, move closer to civilization.
Closer, please. God is working. That is what Dapple has been working on, and
my bro. He's been using me.
He been using me to keep us in Waldorf. And now,
don't worry.
I'll break the chains.
No, curse and
2024. We said Christmas and Bowie this year.
Dang, it's as well. Don't worry.
Next year, Christmas and Bowie 2024.
Next year. But so obviously communication, like I was saying, making sure that like you're constantly having these conversations because they're not one-offs, right? They're going to keep on. They're going to keep on occurring. And like we said, seasons change, kids come into the picture, families, we get older, we grow, life happens, things happen, and that might reestablish why we need to change our boundaries in some cases. So we just thought that would be like a good episode to talk about because I think it's just something that it's personal because obviously it's you and your partner, but ultimately it's something that like you're dealing with all the time. Like the boundaries I have with my husband are not going to be the same boundaries I have with my coworkers or that I have with like my friends or whatever the case may be. But I think it's important that even if you're watching this from a marital standpoint, you could still take this information and apply it to anything, to any relationship or any relationship for real.
Yeah, literally any relationship.
Yeah,
parental, children.
We didn't get
into our parental bag. Hallelujah. That's a whole.
You know what? We want to touch on it real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Because I think it's important because when you get married, right, there has to be a reestablishing with your parents because I think at least. I can speak personally. I think that I had to kind of like talk to my parents or talk to my mom. My dad been chilling always, but my mom, I'm like, Mom, you can't just. There's certain things you just can't. You gotta like fall back a little bit. You know,
you can't regulate me anymore. I have a new regulator.
Yeah, like there's a new regulator in town. Word to what is it, Warren G?
Yeah, like you have to leave me alone
like
now.
You can't, right. So there's certain things and I feel like it was difficult for my mom because again, like I talk to my mom every day.
so cute.
And if it's not every day, it's a problem.
No, that's a fact.
It's a problem.
That is a fact.
Yeah, so like I'm not talking to her every day.
Very
It's like I'm talking to her every other day, and
in the 2 days, it's like
it's a problem.
I haven't talked to you in 3 years.
She's calling SOS. Like, what's the problem?
Where have you been?
Where have you been?
You just deserted me.
And I'm just like, I'm in my husband's house. But that's besides the point. But my thing is, I think that like, I had to like reestablish. And then when kids came into the picture, it was different because I felt like, we had finally gotten a groove with me and Tella like about like what we like, what we love, just like access to us, like that key, like we had to take keys back, and like that access that you had before you don't always have, and I think like even siblings as well, right? Like where my siblings could come over and like if they were sleeping over, I didn't care, but now that I'm like somebody's wife. Even if it does happen, like it's a conversation with my husband.
Yeah,
like I'm like,
it's cool.
Oh yeah, like they can stay tonight, right? No big deal.
Yeah,
that is that level. It's a boundary, and I feel like that's the same thing with parents. And I feel like with now that they have grandkids, it's reestablishing all over again because it's just like, Mom, you can't. Mom, stop buying. Like I love that you buy my kids stuff, but stop buying. Just buying. Because you're not gonna help clean out. You're not gonna clean out the closets. When all these clothes,
like Mom loves to buy clothes,
buys and buys and buys.
Oh my god!
My mom, the kids went over there yesterday. They came back with something.
They told me. They were like, Grandma bought me.
They said Mimi.
Yeah, they're like Mimi bought me. And then they went to Mimi's house and Mimi bought them stuff. I was like, that's just so
every
nice.
time. You know what I'm saying? So like, Mom, we gotta rein it in. So I feel like and it's a joke. Obviously, I'm so grateful. I think we're very grateful for our parents. Extremely. But I think ultimately it's just still like it does not matter. Relationships just always require boundaries.
Yeah, they do.
And if you don't say anything, like they're gonna either remain the same or somebody's gonna be frustrated.
Yeah, I think that's for me. Like. That is one thing I struggle with so bad. Like, I didn't even know what that meant to set a boundary when I got married. My mom is off the chains, okay? You want to talk about controlling mothers? My mother is number one, and I hope she don't see this. But if she do, she gonna know.
Love you, Auntie. I didn't say she do.
But it's true, girl. Like, regulating. Why are you out at this time in your husband's house? Shouldn't you be in the house? Why are you traveling? You're going on girls' trips. This year, I went to concert out of town. Yeah, going to concert out of town. So I still think I have work to do in that setting boundaries. And it's like we had this conversation, and I think I got through to her this time. But it's like, Mom, like
my husband is
fine.
This is the first person I told.
I'm like, he's good.
He knows
he will buy the ticket. He's fine.
Yeah. Same. But that's actually a good example.
Yeah, but it's like, but Mom, it's just like you're not living the way that they lived, so it's a problem. Yeah. So for her, it's like, I never left you and your brothers for one day. I didn't have time.
Culturally, because I don't know what everybody.
I wish you did. You
should have went.
You should have went, and that's why I'm going, because I don't. I don't want to. Yeah. You don't want to go. I don't want to go my whole life, and then my kids is out the house, and I'm just like, so now what?
Now what? Yeah.
No, like I still want to be. I want to be lit.
Yeah. You want to be outside?
Not outside, Laura. I'm done with outside.
Praise.
It's winter.
Jesus Christ.
I'll be back.
I'll
be back in May.
Stop. But yeah,
it's just a boundary. I have work. I do have work to do in that department because my mom. Even though I feel like my mom has, like, she really respects Dapo. Yeah. So it's like, if Dapo said it, then I'm fall back.
But it's the truth.
But it's like, what about me?
What about me?
I said it. Lady.
So yeah. So I think that was
I love her though.
Yeah. But I think that's good. So obviously to recap and like the takeaways, boundaries are for you.
Period. And
if there's anything that we can kind of like, again, it's this area that keeps us safe. It is this area that like protects us, and they're for you. Yeah. I also think that obviously boundaries can shift as you go from season to season, married, then to kids, whatever, went through different experiences, through difficult experiences, who knows, boundaries can shift. There's and this goes across the board, relationships, everything, but ultimately they keep you safe. Boundaries are supposed to help you kind of deepen your intimacy, strengthen trust, and like promote better communication. Yeah. Like that's why we have boundaries. And so if there's anything we want you to take away, it's those three things. They're for you. They can shift at any time. and they keep you safe.
That's it.
So this is our episode. This is our first episode. We hope you like, comment, subscribe.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
God
My
bless.
name is Laura.
My name is Memi.
And this is Chat from Peak.
Out.